1987, NEC and Hudson Soft joined forces to develop and release the PC Engine in Japan. It was a hybrid of 8 and 16-bit technology meant to go head-to-head with Nintendo's Famicom and wipe the floor with it. And from a technical perspective, it did just that. It featured a custom 7.16 MHz 8-bit CPU and dual 16-bit video chips that could paint 482 colors on screen. The programmable sound generator it used gave the machine a unique synthesis that separated it from its competitors. For 1987, this technology in a home console was extremely impressive, and its games showed that right away. Those games came on tiny credit card-like cartridges that were all kinds of cool. The PC Engine did well in Japan in its formative years. In just over 12 months, it moved over 1.5 million units. When 1989 began, the PC Engine was soaking up 50% of Japan's gaming sales, and NEC and Hudson were ready to take that dominance to North America. So it was that in August of 1989, the Turbografx-16 was born. NEC sought a redesign of the tiny PC Engine into a much larger case and a different controller connection, but held on to the controller's shape and the game cards. Though it started out with a ton of promise, it was quickly pushed aside by Sega's Genesis in the US. For 2 years, the Genesis grew in market share, and by the time Sonic lands, the Super Nintendo puts the final nail in the Turbografx coffin. Despite having a CD-ROM add-on and a solid library of titles, Western audiences simply didn't take to NEC's console. A full-blown European launch was cancelled, and the Turbografx fell into the record books as a failed device, scarcely remembered in the 16-bit war. In this episode, we are going to attempt to turn around the Turbografx-16's North American fortunes and change its history for the better. Like the episodes similar to this, it's all in good fun and not meant to be taken seriously. If anything, I'm just hoping for some good-spirited discussion among fans of the device. We have our work cut out for us in this one, so let's get started. Our first order of business is to deal with the launch of the Turbo. Since the PC Engine is doing well in Japan in 1989, we aren't going to change anything about its standing there. NEC and Hudson had crafted a powerful device for its day, so we will also be leaving most of the hardware alone. No redesigns to the CPU, GPU, or sound system. It could already display a decent amount of color, and I always enjoyed its unique sound chip. Our focus in this episode will be in dealing with changes largely to do with software, retail strategy, and consumer awareness. On the hardware front, there are only two things that never set well with me, and that was NEC's decision to try and sell accessories separately that other consoles had by default, and the ludicrous redesign of the PC Engine shell. That leaves our first change as building 2 controller ports into the device, and leaving them as they were in Japan in terms of size and pin configuration. We will also be leaving the original PC Engine shell alone, save for the new logo. I always felt the PC Engine had such an elegant design, and we will be doubling down on that. We will also adopt the 1989 core graphics update of adding RCA connections right out of our console. All you will need is a $20 cable to get the better image quality and stereo sound. Our next change is much larger and requires multiple steps. Because we are launching right on top of the Sega Genesis, we need to consider the value proposition of our package. Releasing a new console at $199 that doesn't meet a similar value as our competitor is unacceptable. We need a pack-in title that's gonna move hardware. Though I always enjoyed Keith Courage and Alpha Zones, it was all wrong as the lead-off hitter for first impressions. We need something that will hook potential buyers with great graphics, fun gameplay, and an appealing character that we can make our mascot. Yep, you got it. Bonk's Adventure will be our pack-in ace in the hole. But if we are gonna do that, we will also need to move our North American launch date back a bit, which will now be Friday, December the 1st, 1989. PC Genjin, the Japanese version, was originally released in December of 1989, and we will be bringing it stateside immediately. This will give us our pack-in and mascot right at Christmas, and we will use bonk heavily in our print and television advertising. At $199, we will face the Sega Genesis with a powerful value proposition. The move to December also gives us a more potent launch lineup that means we will have R-Type, Blazing Lasers, the legendary Axe, Vigilante, Galaga 90, and 3 different sports titles to choose from. There will be others available as well, giving us a start that hopefully is something special. Since we are focusing our current energy on the base console, the CD-ROM attachment will not be launching in 1989. Since we are launching during the final month of 1989, 1990 will be of extreme importance for getting the Turbografx into as many homes as possible. To do that, we need a software lineup that makes people want our device. Remember, we aren't just facing Sega's Genesis this year, but an entrenched Nintendo Entertainment System that is still selling incredibly well. We need to approach the Western market with a more varied software lineup than was originally attempted. This means a US team needs to be established immediately to take Japanese software that may need changes and translations for the US market. Fire Pro Wrestling Combination Tag will be translated and given a mild facelift to make the wrestlers look a little more like the WWF and WCW stars of the time. We need that variety, and what we are offering in a wrestling game is a great start. Since Sega has completely skipped the arcade Shinobi in favor of a console-specific release, we carry that license over from Asmic and bring it to the US and publish it ourselves. Action games sell hardware, and seeing a popular Sega arcade game you can't play on any other 16-bit console is a win for us. We will also be bringing over Knight Rider Special. This was a car combat title that was based on the popular 80s TV show. It puts you in mind of something out of the Chase HQ series, both in how it looks and plays, and I think it will make a solid early title for us. And speaking of solid releases, we will be scooping up Power Drift for a US release as well. This is another one Sega skipped for the Genesis, so there shouldn't be any resistance to us putting it front and center in our software lineup. We will also begin an aggressive advertising campaign that extols the virtues of our hardware. We will put heavy emphasis on the amount of color our system can display on screen, and the fact we have not one, but 2 16-bit graphics chips in our machine. Since we have a number of arcade ports coming in 1990, we also play up that angle and make it clear that with our color and 16-bit power, our machine is where you want to be. As 1990 comes to a close, we lower the price of our base unit to $150 just in time for Christmas. Without the CD-ROM attachment on the market and the software needed to support it, we should be able to absorb this price drop and have the capital to translate the games I have added to our US library. I feel the Turbo CD is still not needed at this point, so we will again push it out to allow its library to mature in Japan. $1990 was important, but 1991 is when we have to contend with the release of the Super Nintendo and Sega's new mascot, Sonic the Hedgehog. Our strategy begins with making sure we are iterating and improving among our sports games, so we need to market our new TV sports lineup properly. It will be clear by this point that celebrity endorsements are huge for these types of games, so we need some well-known players backing our products. The TV sports lineup has football, basketball, and hockey, plus we will pull in volleyball, golf, baseball, tennis, and soccer from other franchises and Japanese releases and rebrand them. Power 11 will become TV Sports Soccer. Korega will become TV Sports Baseball. Super Volleyball will become TV Sports Volleyball. Jack Nicklaus' Greatest 18 Holes of Championship Golf will become TV Sports Golf starring Jack Nicklaus. And Final Match Tennis will become TV Sports Tennis. Our celebrity endorsements will be added at the end of every TV sports title, so something like TV Sports Football becomes TV Sports Football starring Jerry Rice. Sports games are a very important part of the North American market, and we need to not only make sure we have a steady lineup, but that we have to improve upon each version until they are competitive with our peers. The TV Sports lineup will be a first step in that direction. We will also get a few more Japanese-only releases out in the US in 1991. We will continue our Fire Pro series in the US by releasing Fire Pro Wrestling Second Bout, the sequel to Combination Tag. We will also have a lineup of Supergraphics games that are going to be ported down to the Turbografx. The Supergraphics had some sprite, background, and memory advantages over the base Turbografx, but the game should be very similar since the bulk of the hardware is exactly the same. This will give us a home port of 1941 Counterattack and Ghouls and Ghosts to our lineup, as well as a few exclusives in the way of Aldines and Grand Zort. Our big summer game will be Bonk's Revenge, and we will release it the same day Sonic releases in the US. Along with the heavily advertised standalone version for those that already own a Turbografx, it will again become our pack-in title and replace the original. Our new Bonk's Revenge pack will go head-to-head with Sega Sonic pack at the same price. We will also be launching the Turbo CD unit at the end of the year, just in time for Christmas in early December. At $299, the unit will come with the Super CD-ROM card standard and the pack-in game R-Type Complete CD, and position us to push CD gaming hard in 1992. This price should be doable since the original timeline saw NEC lower the price of the Turbo CD to $299 around this point. Releasing sooner would have been a mistake since we needed to focus on getting our base console up and running, and we needed to focus on the software we've gone over so far. I also feel that there was no need to release the Turbo CD before the availability of the Super CD card. 1991 is also the year I ink a deal with SNK to bring their Neo Geo arcade games to the PC Engine and Turbografx. There will be Magician Lord on the Turbografx. Sengoku will see a port. I'll even try and get cross swords on our platform. I feel there is a certain level of high-end respect for SNK's software, and with the color capabilities of our machine, I think we are a perfect place to bring these games home and having them still look fantastic. SNK's software was no stranger to the PC Engine in the original timeline, but we will bring it much earlier and support far more releases. All of this sets up a 1992 that will make or break our market, and I have some big changes to give us the best shot. With Christmas 1991 behind us, we have 2 full years on the market. Our Super CD-ROM is finally out, and we are facing our first full calendar year of 2 16-bit competitors. This means we will need to be highly aggressive with our Western software releases, starting with bringing more Japanese-made games over. Liquid Kids will see a US release in early 1992, as will Ninja Gaiden. Our US software team will lock those funky backgrounds up into a single plane that eliminates that terrible shimmering. Gate of Thunder will move from an end-of-the-year release to a March or April release in the US, so we can trumpet how incredible our Super CD-ROM is. The same with Valis, the Phantasm Soldier, and Forgotten Worlds. We are also going to continue our Fire Pro love with an English translation of Legends Bout. Snatcher CD-ROM Antic will also see a stateside release and full English translation. Our $300 Turbo CD needs games that will grab people's attention, and a 1992 Snatcher will be pushed heavily in our media packages. Our largest and most challenging mission in 1992, however, is securing third parties that we desperately need. With Nintendo's ridiculous monopoly and marketing practices coming to an end, we should now have access to developers and publishers willing to work with us. Since companies like Konami are already making games for the PC Engine in Japan, we work closely with them in the US to secure some of their most popular franchises, even if we need to develop and publish them under the NEC Avenue label. We aren't going to get everything, but a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and a Contra would do wonders for our platform. We also need to aggressively pursue Electronic Arts, not just for their sports lineup, but also to have a shot at the massive amount of computer games they have access to. I'd love to work up a deal to secure modern updates to Skate or Die, The Bard's Tale, and the Starflight series. Anything else that would come of that deal would be icing on the cake. Other third parties we'd need would be Virgin Interactive, Acclaim, and Activision. Again, we aren't going to get them all, nor would we get all their games, but it's really important for us to work closely with development and publishing arms of these companies to secure what we can, even if some of it needs to be developed in-house or published under our label. The 16-bit era saw a massive proliferation of multi-platform software, and the changes we have made will hopefully give us a better position in the market to draw some of these games our way. The previous Neo Geo collaboration will also give us more options in 1992. We'll pick up Last Resort and Baseball Stars 2 for release at some point in the year. Our sports titles will also see updates for the calendar year. We will also go after the league licenses for each sport where available. TV Sports NFL Football 93 starring Jerry Rice is the natural progression of the series, and the other sports games will follow the same strategy. Where we cannot secure a league license, we will make sure all the cities from those leagues are represented, and we will add create-a-team options where needed. Again, sports will be a huge reason some people gravitate towards our platform, and we will make sure options are there. We close out 1992 with a price drop of our Bonk's Revenge Pack, which will now move for a mere $129. Our Turbo CD will come down significantly to $199 to prepare for the December 1992 release of the Turbo Duo, which will retail for an attractive $299. Our Duo pack-in software will be 2 discs. The first is a special CD-ROM edition of Air Zonk with new story cinematics, an extra stage, and of course a new remix soundtrack. We will also include an arcade compilation disc that has 4 popular games: Splatterhouse, Galaga 90, Gradius, and Fighting Street. This will kick off an aggressive Christmas campaign where we will market TV and magazine ads heavily, promoting our price drops and new Turbo Duo hardware. Hopefully our changes so far will give the Turbografx brand a larger footprint in the North American market. The competition is fierce, so I still expect 1993 to be an uphill battle every step of the way. We will start by making sure a number of once Japanese-only games are brought over to the US. Double Dragon 2 for the Super CD-ROM will be first among those. It was such a different experience and we need that for our device. Street Fighter II Champion Edition will be a huge focus for us in June of '93, and that strategy starts by packing it in with a special Fighters Edition of our Turbografx hardware. This unit will come with 2 Avenue Pad 6 controllers, the game, and the system for $149, making it the cheapest way to play Street Fighter II at home in North America for newcomers. We continue the trend of moving Japanese games over to the US by also securing Dracula X Chino Rondo. Hopefully our changes have made it attractive enough for Konami themselves to handle this, but if they don't, we license the North American release under the NEC branding and publish it as Castlevania Rondo of Blood. 1993 will also see our TV sports lineup get another upgrade, expanding our features and keeping step with our competitors. And speaking of competitors, I am anticipating that Electronic Arts is fully on board with us at this point, and we have a number of their largest franchises already. If not, this is the year that the Turbo received John Madden Football for its CD-ROM add-on, so we should have a wealth of sports options at this point. The Neo Geo partnership will be a gift that keeps on giving, and Viewpoint and Sengoku 2 is set for a 1993 release. To prepare for the Christmas holiday season, we will make a special sports pack for our Turbo Duo, which will come with a CD of all this year's TV sports titles. We will push the value of this pack and all other packs heavily during the end of the year rush. With a big sports pack for our Duo and the special Street Fighter 2 pack for our base unit, we should be scoring big with consumer interest. Keep in mind this includes a slew of other big 1993 releases that should give our brand a boost. Cotton Fantastic Night Dreams, Bonk 3 Bonk's Big Adventure, Lords of Thunder, Rainbow Islands, Super Air Zonk, Bomberman 94, and Game Ground SX will all see a calendar year 93 release, setting us up for a showdown in 1994 that will be our final major push of that generation. One of our major issues to contend with in 1994 is the sheer number of games released only for the CD format in Japan. This means we must focus on HuCard releases for North America to make sure we continue to support our product with a wide variety of options for every customer. We have our yearly TV sports lineup on HuCard already, and our work with third parties should yield more releases from that sector. To help with this, we will also be bringing over once Japanese exclusive HuCards for North America, starting with Battle Load Runner for puzzle game fanatics, Tatsujin for the shoot 'em up crowd, and the Tower of Druaga for those that like RPG elements in their action titles. Our Neo Geo connection will also allow us to bulk up our HuCard offerings by grabbing ports of Samurai Showdown, Spin Master, and Windjammers. While the power of the Super CD-ROM would be a natural fit for these games, we need to make sure that our customers that only own the base Turbografx have HuCard options of great titles available. Of course, we will still have Neo Geo ports to our CD-ROM system, and there is no question that the CD-ROM format will see a huge push in 1994. We have a number of Japanese releases to bring over and an arcade card to market as a massive upgrade with some outstanding arcade ports. We'll be bringing over Fatal Fury 2, Art of Fighting, Puyo Puyo CD, World Heroes 2, Dynasty Wars, Mega Twins, Popful Mail, Mad Stalker Full Metal Force, Strider, Fatal Fury Special, Ys 4 The Dawn of Ys, and for the first time on US shores, an English translation of Emerald Dragon. The idea here is variety, quality, and focusing on games that make our customers feel like they are getting something special. Realistically, 1994 will be the final year of the Turbografx-16 in the US, and we will need to start thinking about where we are going for a new generation that's right around the corner. Many of you are likely sitting there wondering about a European release of the Turbografx. Essentially, I would not alter the North American plan here and simply follow suit by establishing a distribution arm in Europe and releasing the platform in early 1990 across the UK, France, and Germany, then rolling it out slowly in other nations as 1990 continues. This will give us access to the millions of gamers available in that part of the world, which is absolutely imperative to our success. I really do feel that the PAL territory was a missed opportunity by NEC originally, and they should have pursued that market aggressively. We will advertise our system and games as unique alternatives to Sega and Nintendo's wares, playing up our titles that cannot be played anywhere else. Hopefully my changes will trigger better sales in both North America and Europe, giving NEC and Hudson more money to keep developing games and securing third-party support well above what the platform originally accomplished. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'd love to hear what you would have done differently with the Turbografx. To sum up my strategy, I wanted to get the right pack in, advertise more aggressively, bring over more Japanese releases, license more popular IPs and develop them in-house under the NEC branding, and finally focus on signing more third-party development. These things are of course easier said than done, but I feel a proper start with the right pack-in game and more Japanese conversions would have been an excellent motivator. You also have to remember the huge amount of games that would come to the platform that I didn't address directly here. I left that stuff alone because I wanted it to release as it was originally. The Turbografx would get the legendary Axe series, for instance, games I feel a larger audience would really appreciate. Newtopia was another one I felt was really good, and adds the variety of adventure to our catalog of offerings. There are also a number of Sega licensed games that I didn't mention that the Turbo would get early. Space Harrier was a solid port, and I think Fantasy Zone would do well as a release window option. It might be in our best interest to pursue Outrun and Columns as well, simply to spread out the amount of genres we have available, especially since they would be available so early in the console's North American run. I think establishing Fire Pro Wrestling in a big way is super important to our brand, and getting Konami's games out in the West would be key to our image as offering something different from Sega and Nintendo, especially with Snatcher so early in 1992. Publishing Street Fighter II in the West and packing it in with our hardware is another big move we need. We have a very good version of the game, and it would be crazy not to give it every chance to succeed. And really, that's the entire focus here, giving the Turbografx a real chance by putting its best foot forward. I always felt NEC treated the US market like it was scared to go all in, scared it wouldn't pay off, so they played it safe and didn't do the things the console needed to give it its best chance. So many games left in Japan, so many choices made that didn't appeal to potential buyers. Had they come in more sure of themselves and with a greater will to put up a real fight, the Turbografx may have had a much different history than the one we have today. I'm Sega Lord X. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.